Congress Hall. But they make it so you can't walk in there.
Yeah. That's what this was, the joint committee room.
East Committee. East and west and north and south.
Running out of money. But it was built for the Pennsylvania Assembly. They're the men who ran the colony of Pennsylvania, and this is built as their main government building. Now, when they first put this place together, believe it or not, this is the outskirts of town. It's kind of hard to imagine today with everything that's out there, but there really wasn't a whole lot around here back then. And that's because most of the city turned up and down along the Delaware River, which is a few blocks that way. So most of the city ended at 4th Street. We're 5th and 6th Street here. So you would have come up and seen the building all by itself. Now back then, that was a pretty impressive sight because this is one of the biggest buildings in any of the colonies. Now, if you had a large public building like that with big rooms inside, what they used to do back then is lend the rooms out so other people could have these. That's how we have all these events occurring. Borrowed space, sort of like a big community center. Now, one of the groups that borrowed that area is pictured in this painting down here. Now, anybody want to take a guess at what event this is? I'll give you a hint. They're signing something.
Declaration of Independence.
Declaration of Independence? Maybe.
First Constitution.
First Constitution? Do you have another one? The First Continental Congress?
Articles of Confederation.
Articles of Confederation. Well, we have a crowd that knows their documents. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. It is the room where the Declaration was signed. But 11 years after that, they're signing the Constitution. Now, is that what you guessed? Yeah? Okay, that's good. Now, it is hard to tell these two. When they're signing the Declaration and Constitution, these conventions happen in the same room. It's even some of the same people, but there is a way you can tell the difference. It all has to do with George Washington there. Now, he's chairman of the Constitutional Convention, that's why he's in the middle. But if you ever see a painting of them signing the Declaration of Independence, you'll never see George Washington. He wasn't there. He's there in the very beginning of the Second Continental Congress, but one of the first things they did at that meeting is they put George Washington in charge of the Army. So he left to take care of business. Now, in the beginning, you know what kind of shape the Army was in? pretty bad. It's a good way to describe it, pretty bad. George Washington had a lot of work to do. So when they get around to signing the Declaration, he is way too busy to come back and put his name on that paper. So you can look all over the Declaration of Independence. You will not see George Washington's signature, but you will find it on the Constitution. And that's how you can tell those two events apart. Just look for George Washington. Now there's a few other people in this painting you might recognize. Anybody know this guy? Ben Franklin. Anybody run into him today? You might, or at least somebody that looks an awful lot like him. That'd be a pretty good trick, seeing how he's been dead all these years. But Ben Franklin is this man at this meeting. He was 82 years old, and he wasn't feeling too good either. He had kidney stones and he had gout, which meant he really couldn't walk around too well. That's why he's sitting down there. He needed help getting around. Anybody recognize with the quill? Madison, James. Now you know he was really short. He was only about 5'2" or 3 inches tall. And you can really tell it in this painting because they put him right next to George Washington, who was over 6 feet tall. And they are standing on the same platform there. So you can see a whole head shorter. Okay, I got one last one. See if you can guess. Now over here, there's a red-headed fella, and it's not Thomas Jefferson. Give you a big hint. His face is on our money. Hamilton. Somebody said it. Alexander Hamilton. Now he had reddish hair like Thomas Jefferson. Patrick Henry had red hair too. But when George Washington is president, he's Secretary of the Treasury. He's in charge of our country's money, which was a big job back then because every state had its own currency. Now, if you can imagine, if you lived back then, every time you exchange your money, so then is every state was other states didn't work much. Everybody's losing cash. Now, thanks to Alexander Hamilton, he establishes the first mint of the United States and the first base of money, and that really helped stabilize things in this country after the American Revolution. Now, this painting isn't all that was done in 1987 for the centennial of the Constitution. He did this, came to the building to see what this room looked like. And he also researched all these people from paintings and drawings to see what they looked like. But there was one person they couldn't find any painting of. No sketch, no drawing, nothing at all. So what do you think they did with him? You got it. Meet Jacob Broom from Delaware. They turn him around. He's the guy signing. Now the poor man, that's all we'll ever know is the back of his head, but at least he was included. Now that's going to be the second room we see today. So take a good look. It still looks like that now, minus all the people, of course. But it is almost time for us to go. And before we do, just a few last things. First of all, when we leave the room here, please make sure you take